Please say good morning and welcome to 710 KNUS. Michele Byington is our guest. Michele, good morning. Thanks for doing radio in Denver and Colorado Springs, and welcome to the show, and thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. A little bit of your background, and pardon my cold. I have a bad cold. A little bit about yourself, a quick bio, please.
I am Michele Byington. I am one of the program attorneys for U.S. Law Shield, and what I do is I represent gun owners basically in any sort of incident that causes a criminal lawsuit to arise or even a civil lawsuit.
And where did you go to law school? Where did you go to undergrad? And where are we speaking to you from?
I am here in Houston, Texas. I went to Texas A&M University and then graduated from law school at South Texas College of Law.
I'm asking a compare and contrast that bounces off, your expertise, yet is not, full square, is watching this thing in Burns, Oregon. And I know this is not why you're on the radio show, with apologies, but to read the mainstream press, these people who have come to defend, if you would, these ranchers in Burns, Oregon. And I have in front of me a CNN piece by Juliet Kamen, who says, I read this to you, who the heck do you think they are? Let's begin with what to call the Oregon anti-government protesters who have taken over a federal building. The men, heavily armed, urging others to come and support their cause and claiming somehow that while peaceful, they will defend themselves. It takes time. By any definition, they are, her words, domestic terrorists. I laughed as you laughed, but remember, this is on CNN. And she writes, it doesn't matter if they insist they're peaceful, they are terrorists. Now, take Ferguson, Missouri, any of these things that you and I have witnessed in Baltimore, Maryland, Ferguson, Missouri. I can give you the list. Those people are not terrorists, but in Burns, Oregon, where no one has shot anyone, no one's burned anything, no one's looted anything, no one has fired at police officers, no one has done anything. They're terrorists, and yet all this other insanity that we've witnessed in the inner city is then, peaceful, and they're within their constitutional rights. Can you dope some of that out for me?
I wish I could make sense of this, but I cannot. Calling these people terrorists is just furthering the liberal agenda, and it's furthering this anti-gun agenda that really makes no sense at the heart. These people call for quote-unquote common sense gun laws, and then they turn around, and if you lawfully possess a firearm, and how dare you exercise your First Amendment rights, and how dare you exercise your Second Amendment rights all at the same time with a firearm. Specifically, you're called a terrorist when you're exactly right. Mm-hmm. You had a terrorist attack this past summer in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where an individual went and shot up a military recruitment office. And where was this woman then? That is terrorism.
Yeah. Well, of course, and we know that. But again, when we look at the mainstream press, and I like to do comparison and comparison analysis, again, away from the topic, but the same thing, where Bill Cosby, who I'm so glad is being prosecuted for what he did, and Bill Clinton skates away. And I mentioned this on the radio show on New Year's Eve. I'm waiting for Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton to come out and scream, a black man is being treated differently than a white man, but I don't think that's going to happen. Bill Clinton did horrible things to women, and he's being called the greatest politician of our lifetime. So this comparison analysis is frightening when we look at big media, is it not?
It's absolutely frightening, and it's just not logical either. And I feel like what the media is doing is they're polarizing issues that don't need to be polarized. There's no clear winner and there's no clear loser in these scenarios. You've got to come look at the facts, analyze those facts with common sense, and draw your own conclusions. The media wants to pick a winner and the media wants to pick a loser, when that's simply not how the law works. It's really an art form. It's not It's not a science here. So when the media is really doing a disservice when they're presenting these quote-unquote facts and then adding in their opinion, what they need to do is they need to have faith in the American people, realize we are an intelligent society, present us the facts, and then let us draw our own conclusions. Is Bill Cosby guilty? I don't know.
I'd be willing to bet it.
And you know what? And that's,
yeah.
You may be 100% right,
yep.
But at the end of the day, it is up to a jury. This is what our founding fathers fought so hard for.
And I'm on your side.
It is up to a jury to determine.
I'm on your side.
Bill Clinton, same thing.
But if Bill Clinton was treated as the press treated Cosby, and they haven't, and Clinton skates away, and there are women now coming forward. Juanita Broderick has finally come forward. Kathleen Willie's come forward, Paula Corbin-Jones, the list goes on, of women who come forward and said, yes, this is what he did to me. And yet, those women are not on the front page or not the lead story. And I do the same thing with this so-called the feds and the armed militia. These people in Oregon have burned nothing, looted nothing, shot at no one, destroyed no property, and yet they are terrorists. And
correct. It's the media picking winners and losers to further their own agenda.
Sure. And again, watching the Republican Party in power is just where I don't have the words anymore for the Republican Party, but Barack Obama is talking about now executive decisions and mandating executive action on guns. The Republican Party sits idly by. What are we watching happen?
I think we're watching a bunch of political pandering happen at this point. He's threatening to put pen to paper and issue an executive order that would require, and again, this is all speculation at this point, require more background checks on gun transfers. So right now, when you go to purchase a gun from a federally firearms licensed dealer, you have to get a background check. However, if it's a private sale, no background check is required. So if you've got a neighbor who you've known for 20 years, you want to sell them a gun, you can absolutely do that, and no background check is required. And the speculation comes from this sort of transaction, those private transactions. So Congress refused to act when it came to this sort of legislation. And so basically he is defying Congress and defying the American people to further his own agenda.
Yeah. I mean, he's showing up Thursday for a town hall meeting co-hosted by Anderson Cooper. I really expect a lot of heated exchanges, don't you?
No, it's not even a little bit.
That's right. You pick where you go. I mean, there's a great line. If you knew where you were going to die, you would never go there. He's not going to go up against anyone. He's going to total lay down Anderson Cooper. So Barack Obama is going to announce, my reading said this, a new set of executive actions at how do you reduce gun crimes by executive action? Could you explain that? I can't.
Absolutely not. I wish I could explain this, but it just doesn't make any sense. If you want to reduce gun crimes, what you do is you armed the law-abiding citizen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm told from friends of mine who are in the gun business that the greatest gun salesman in the last 100 years in America has been Barack Obama.
I believe it. I absolutely believe that.
I don't understand this anymore. What do you think the purpose of Barack Obama and the progressives and the liberals and the big press are when it comes to guns?
All I can figure here is they want more government dependency because this is what they live and breathe on. They want you to be dependent on the government. And that's just not simply our values as Americans. We don't want to be dependent on anybody. We are an independent person. And so I think by attempting to disarm society, they are basically making us dependent upon them.
When you think about it, and we're watching Chicago, which is one of the last of the big, gun-free cities, and it's being ripped apart by violence almost every weekend, and then there's a big upheaval with the police officers with Rahm Emanuel. How can they look at Chicago and tell you that this process works?
I don't know. Again, I wish I had these answers because if you ask me, Chicago is the number one reason why gun control laws do not work. You are disarming the good guys because criminals, guess what? They don't follow the law. They're going to get their hands on a gun that's not legal, and they're not going to follow the law.
I get to write a column here, and I said, boy, banning guns, we should try that on meth and heroin, see how that works. Truly, think about it. I mean, boy, if it works on guns, if we ban meth and heroin, we're never going to see any meth and heroin in this country, are we?
Maybe not. It's the same argument. DWIs are, at a frightening number. People are killed by drunk drivers every day. We don't ban cars because it doesn't make sense.
I understand if you took away suicides and gang violence, that gun violence in the United States of America would be, if you took those two variables out of the model, suicide, which is horrible, and gang violence, we would drop to a very insignificant number.
You're probably right. With suicide, even if guns were not in the picture in this country, they would find another way.
Of course.
Same thing with gun violence. Look at Australia. When they took away the citizens' rights to own guns, violent crime skyrocketed. Yeah. Violent crime not pertaining to guns, but violent crime pertaining to knives, to broken beer bottles. You could name it. Yeah. Well, and so over and over and over we see, and we go back to Chicago. Chicago is the perfect example of why you need an armed society, because an armed society is a peaceful society.
Yeah. Well, Sam Colt said it best. This is a peacemaker.
Yeah.
That's what he called that gun, make the peace. So I wonder, now that, again, Thursday is the day, at least what I read, that the president will appear on a town hall on CNN, hosted by none other, and then, again, a total laydown. It's going to be hosted by Anderson Cooper, and they're at George Mason University, and he's going to take questions from the audience. I'd be willing to bet lunch there's not one difficult question to ask him.
I would bet lunch and dinner on that one.
Yeah, that nobody's going to stand up, and everybody will be carefully screened and pre-screened, and nobody's going to ask a tough question. It's just going to be a total laydown.
It's going to be a beautifully scripted event for Barack Obama, which is not what this country was founded on.
Watch it happen. Watch it happen. We'll have you back. Thanks for your time. Happy New Year. Thanks, Michelle, for doing the show.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too, pal. Thanks. 303-696-1971.